Hello all and welcome to another Winged review. And about 2 years ago when I first started doing these videos, my very first Wing review ever was of X-Men Last Stand, so it's quite fitting that now we have the Wolverine. And although it's supposed to be the sequel to X-Men Origins, it takes place after The Last Stand, so really it's just a case of what happened to him next rather than actually building up the character more. So it's a bit of a strange one. It is more of just a sequel, a long film really, rather than anything else. But I've actually really enjoyed it. It was a good film. Basic plot. We find out at the start of the film that somewhere between Origins and the first film that Wolverine saves some Japanese bloke's life, and when he goes back to Japan he ends up becoming the owner of some massive corporation, does really well for himself, he's massively rich, it's some sort of technology company, but because he's now getting older he doesn't want to die, and he spends a lot of money pretty much almost making the company go bankrupt, finding a way to transplant Wolverine's healing ability into himself. I don't know how they managed to do that, but they did. But they need Wolverine to agree to it so that they can pretty much take it from him, put it into the Japanese bloke. So Wolverine will end up dying, whereas this other bloke will then live forever. Of course, the Wolverine tells him where to stick it, and then the bloke dies a couple of hours later. In his will, the bloke left everything to his granddaughter, and at the funeral they then get attacked by the Yakuza for some reason. So Wolverine pretty much hangs around to try and make sure she's okay, find out what the hell's going on. And that's the film, really. It is pretty much just the bodyguard again, really, with Wolverine instead of Kevin Costner. So, but it was still a really good film. Certainly not the best one, certainly not the worst one, but there were some really good fight scenes, the CGI was well done, there were some funny moments. It was a good film, really. It was nothing special. Certainly better than Origins, my god. And I seem to be one of the very few people that actually not only liked X-Men The Last Stand, but I'd still reckon that it is the best one so far. I absolutely loved it, it's a great film. Yes, I'm probably going to get yelled at for that, but yeah, I go against the masses on that one, so yeah. Yeah, it was a good film. There were a few inconsistencies with it, a few continuity errors and some flaws, but if you can just look past them and just roll with it, then it's not too bad. Though one of them, minor spoiler, apparently the secret to Wolverine's healing ability lies in his claws. So they decide that they have to cut his claws off in order to find out whatever it is they want to find out, extract or whatever. And they have this massive samurai armour made out of adamantium with this massive huge samurai sword made of adamantium, and as he's holding onto it, the sword gets really really hot, and somehow that enables him to cut off Wolverine's adamantium claws. Somehow I just assume that because it's adamantium, because it's really hot, it sort of melts it at the claws a little bit and off they come. But then if the sword really is that hot, wouldn't the sword itself actually start to melt anyway? So I don't know, you just roll with it and it was good fun. Biggest complaint about the film though is that for the most part of the film, 3 mutants, including Wolverine, so that was disappointing. There were a few other cameos and other things, so there is a scene just after the credits start to roll, so give it a couple of minutes for this. It pretty much sets up Days of Future Past coming out next year, so stick around for that. But for the most part, yeah, 3 mutants. One of them, she seems to be able to predict when people are going to die and sees how it's going to happen, but she's not always right. So when she decides that she's seen Wolverine's death, yeah, you can imagine how that goes, really. The other woman, I think her name was Viper, I've never heard of her before. She does something to do with toxins and all that sort of thing. She was quite cool, yeah, it was great when she spat into some bloke's face and his face just started to melt, that was good fun. So, but that was it for the mutants, really. That was a bit of a disappointment. I was hoping for a bit more than that. Even if it was mutants we'd seen before, or powers we'd seen before, just something more. It was all it needed, really, a few extra mutants, and it would have been much better. Could have had some much better fight scenes, although the fight scenes were pretty good. I think I mentioned that already, I don't know, I can't remember. But that was all good. So, yeah, the fun. Although the plot sounds like a bit of a bodyguard film, there are quite a few twists towards the end about sort of backstabbing and all that sort of thing, so they weren't majorly impressive twists, but they were good. Some of them were sort of like, really? But so there were a few twists and it was all good fun. So on the whole, I enjoyed the film. It was good. I saw it in 3D. I was hoping to see it in 2D, but when we got there, the viewing had sold out. So we had to see the 3D one that started about half an hour later. It didn't really have much of the film at all, really. I'm not a big fan of 3D. I'd always prefer to go see the 2D, and although there were some 3D moments with things coming at you, and it did look alright, the most part of it was just the scenery, really, as they're walking through a forest or a town or something, and all the buildings were in 3D and all that sort of thing, so that was it, really. So I would say go and see the 2D version. You're not going to get a massive amount of extra from the 3D, so don't bother, unless you absolutely love 3D, in which case, then yeah, knock yourself out. So, but on the whole, it was an interesting enough film, nothing special, but it was entertaining enough and I did enjoy it. See you next time.